Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we're coming back with some more samurai action good time. This time, we're going way back in the day. We're going so far back that we're going back to 1954, and we're doing the
A time of a great honor.
Yes, the time of masterful Japanese cinematography and filmmaking and so on. And they spared no expense on this one.
100%.
The Samurai Trilogy movies, that's mostly how you look them up. But the first one, which is the Musashi Miyamoto, I think that's all it's called for the first part.
Right.
It's more the build-up. But this is like the origin story. You know what this kind of
this is the Captain America First Avenger, but it's Miyamoto Musashi, the first samurai, even though that's not accurate, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's weird because, you look it up, and Musashi Miyamoto, the dude of the Book of the Five Rings and all that famous kind of stuff, is he literally is at the tail end of the warring ages that we were talking about in our last 13 Assassins and so on. And then the Edo period literally shifts on over, and he's like the catalyst of like those two things. So he's almost like, in a sense, the fulcrum of the dead center of this kind of change of dynasty in Japan, ancient Japan, that is.
Right. It is very ancient. 1500s, right?
Yeah.
1500s, 1600s?
I think it's very early 1600s, if I'm not mistaken, because I was looking up. There's like there's this battle that's in kind of the intro of the movie, but
Sekigahara.
Sekigahara, yeah. So this is the thing that changes all of Japan. It's almost the most famous battle in Japan history, or at least
I know it from Samurai Warriors, the video game. I think I'm pretty sure that's in there.
Yeah. Well, that's what those Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors and Hyrule Warriors, they're all trying to teach you the history of the Earth.
Right, exactly.
You know what? They have one that I've always wanted to play that's literally the Trojan War, but it's in the Dynasty Warriors engine.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It was on PS3. Amazing. Yeah, it sounds badass. It's like literally Troy Warriors or something. I don't know. It's probably not what it's called, but yeah.
I'm gonna try and find that now.
It's if you have the streaming for PS whatever on the PS Plus, it's actually on the PS3 list.
Oh well, shit. I got
so
that.
Least,
it's happening now.
You give it the old college try. I know. As I said, when I saw it, I was like, dude, that's awesome. I put that on my list, and I've yet to get to it, but it's just like, oh, that's.
I'm just gonna kill random people, and I'm just gonna quote, the movie Troy. Be like, and that's why no one will remember your name.
You'd be like Brad Pitt going through there and so on like that. But let's see. With that year for that battle, of course, I had it saved there for a second, but then I went through a lot of the rabbit holes of going through how this stuff was all going down. But
trying to shore up some Japanese history.
Exactly, just how it's all relating to the movie and so on. But that battle, the interesting thing is, it only lasted like 8 hours for being the most famous thing of all time in Japan.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it was an 8-hour battle, and at some point, ChatGPT literally gave me the breakdown. It was like, "Oh, it's 6 a.m. This is what happened here," and then 8. Right. It's like I love how there's this great detail on how it all went down, But yeah, so Miyamoto was involved in this because he had these high, dreams of like, I'm going to become a famous samurai. Don't you forget it, people.
Right. Back to, because it's like, I'm going to forget if we don't say it because we were talking about, this movie's old. 54 is the year. So, not to talk shit on I guess would it be called the Silver Age of American cinema?
Yeah, I guess comic book wise, 50s is the Silver Age. I guess that's probably what it is. That's probably exactly what it is. Because Golden Age would be, I guess, 30s to maybe probably 30s and 40s, probably Golden Age.
Okay, if I'm wrong on that, I apologize. I'm just saying, like, this movie doesn't feel dated. The pacing in it is well done. The dialogue and like character development is great. There's something about that classic Japanese cinema. Maybe it's just because it's samurai, and I just think it's cool as fuck. But wouldn't you kind of agree, like with it being color, like it didn't feel like a 1954 film.
No, it actually feels like it's a lot kind of later because you think about it, like, okay, Yojimbo is around this. I guess it's a little bit. That might be 59 or something like that. But that movie's black
Right.
and white, and it's got a great film, but it does feel old.
That's a great movie too.
You know,
Right.
Where this one here, yeah, it's for the fact that it's 54. I think it's one of like the original color movies that Japan was ever able to make. So they spared no expense. They really put it all into this thing here, and it holds up well. I mean, it looks like it could have came out in the 70s. Like that's like how good it looks. You know, like 20 years
Yeah.
later. If you told me it was 74, other than the fact the movie's in full screen, I would have believed that.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's one of those that surprises me every time. I think I've only seen Samurai 1 maybe 3 times. This is the third time I watch it. It's been a long time. But yeah, it blows me away every time. And I'm like, man, this is a 50s movie.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Well, because I remember, this is one of those ones I've always wanted to see, like forever, and I've just kind of had it on the list, had it saved, for they had that Criterion collection, and then of course I saw it they had it on Max and everything like that, and it would show like pictures in color, but sometimes they do that where it's like, well, they show some still images and they're in color, but then you turn the movie on and it's in black and white, and that was kind of what I was expecting, and then the fact it's like, oh, it's full blown color and everything like that, and it's just good looking
Right.
and just high production value, and Sekigahara takes place in 1600, so it's literally just like the turning point.
Right
like,
there.
Yeah, after 150 years of like the war era, there's this one last battle, and the East ends up winning. And then for 250 years, you get Edo period, which is like what every like general samurai movie, video game, anime, it seems to all take place in.
Right. Right. Okay.
And I think because Musashi Miyamoto is probably like the inspiration for so much of that stuff in a sense. He's like literally Japan's, I don't even know what you would call it, Japan's like biggest folk.
He's like a folk hero, folk legend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. They have such cooler like folk heroes than us. Like what do we have? Johnny Appleseed, John Henry,
Yeah. Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. Yeah.
Yeah. In Japan, you just got these great warrior figures and so on like that. And
Yeah, this dude Mark Henry, he could really lay some track down, brother.
Mark Henry's the wrestler.
Oh, is he? Oh shit, my bad. I thought Mark.
No, John Henry.
Who? John Henry. Okay, yeah, Mark, the strong, world's strongest man, Mark Henry.
Yeah, But yeah, well, John Henry, that's like the Industrial Revolution story where the guy's like, "Hey, I can prove that I'm better than a machine," and
I can beat that train.
Yeah, and then you work really hard. You beat the machine by just a fraction, but because that you put so much effort into it, you literally die. Like it's almost
Yeah,
like
you
that's
fucking die.
It's literally like the moral of the story is like, well, yeah, you might be able to, but the machine will keep going. So
Right.
don't try to beat the Terminator.
Yeah, right. No beating Skynet.
No, exactly. You're just gonna have to let it happen. That's it.
So one thing that, I guess I probably never really thought about till, watching this movie to do the podcast, paying a little bit closer attention.
Mm-hmm.
Musashi kind of has like a fucking tragic origin story, dude. Like he just gets fucked over
Well, that's
the
what this movie's all
entire
about.
first film. Yeah, like no wonder he became a recluse that was like, all I care about is the sword.
Well, yeah, it's like that's what I was thinking too. This whole time you're watching it, it's because it really just sort of starts off that him and his buddy are just kind of like living in this town and whatnot like that. And I'm like, dude, we're not gonna do
His
anything
best
in this
friend, his homie.
His homie, yeah. And they're like, and then he gets this idea. He's like, well, come on, we're gonna go out there and go on high adventures. It's gonna be amazing. We'll be a conqueror. We're gonna be samurai.
Oh, you went muted. You got muted.
Oh,
Oh,
did I?
there you go. You're back.
That's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, there's something going on. Maybe it's Friday night. Who knows what's happening.
I'm sad I missed your tirade.
I had a nice
About
tirade,
high
too.
adventure.
About high adventure on the samurai warrior path. We'll become legends.
He summoned his what was it, his young Indiana Jones.
Yes. Exactly. Where he's going to go out. Well, 'cause that's what Indiana Jones had to do. He had to, go and sign up for the Belgian army, though his dad didn't want him to. Old Papa Sean Connery said no way, and he still went to World War One.
Right. He had to. He had to go. He had to go for the adventure.
He had to. You know what I mean?
And it sucks, like Musashi picks. I don't even know if you get to pick your side because it's just like they're two farm boys that just show up. But it's funny because they don't even like. You picture Musashi, you're going to think like he's going to be on the front lines, he's going to be fighting. But no, you see him in his loincloth just, digging a trench. Like, here's some shit work, bud.
Yeah, well, pretty much what happens is that, they're on the west side, which the west side, I guess, is like the Confederates, if this was like the Civil War of America.
Okay.
Because that's what this is. It's a Civil War, but instead of North and South, it's East and West. And then it just sort of seems like, you got the west
Damn
side.
Yankees.
Yeah, so they're on the west side. Nobody really knows the difference. I kind of read up a little bit on that kind of war. Even some of the generals in this battle, they literally shifted like 4 hours into it. Like, forget this. I'm on the east now.
Oh my God.
We saw it. We see this going down and whatnot, and the west side's just not doing good, and they're out there. Yeah, they thought it was going to be a grand adventure, and they're out there digging trenches, which is kind of funny. It actually reminds me a lot of Errol Flynn. He's got his book, which is an amazing autobiography. Like his life is way more interesting before he's even in Hollywood. Like the Hollywood part, though that's cool, it's almost like compared to what he did to, travel across the world and everything like that, not nearly as exciting as the High Adventures. But one of the ones is it reminded me of the same thing that Miyamoto did, where he talked his buddy into joining up in the Japanese or the Japanese-Chinese War, the proto-World War II part, and he talked about it with like, it's going to be a great adventure, high sails, all kinds of stuff, plunder, all kinds of stuff. This part was really funny because he saw like, he goes off all his tirades like, we'll get gems, we'll get jewels, we'll get all this stuff, there'll be rape. And then it stops and goes, the other guy, he was really excited about the rape part.
What the fuck?
Well, it is 1920s. You don't have much stuff to look forward to. And he was American, so.
Oh my God.
Well, next thing you know, they were digging ditches for 3 weeks, and they're like, this is terrible. What the hell happened here? Like, this is what the British Army set us up for, and so on like that. So they, like, forged their way out of that. Escaped into India.
Yeah, I would not want to be stuck digging trenches. That would suck.
No, and especially back in the day, it's like 1600s, still digging a trench, wearing your man thong out there in the rain,
Right, yeah, that was the other thing, like how rainy it was in that scene, just soupy, nasty, muddy field.
Yeah.
But Musashi and his homie, they're digging a trench, and then a whole group of soldiers come running by, and they're like, it's over. They overrun us. The battle's done. And Musashi basically is just like, I didn't even get to kill anybody yet.
Yeah, he was so disappointed.
It's some bullshit.
So yeah, he just picks up a sword and starts running the other direction and whatnot, and gets his buddy to tag along. Right. And run towards the danger in a sense. Right.
They get in a fight. I think his buddy gets injured, like he gets cut in the leg. They play dead. It's not there's nothing heroic with what happens there at Sekigahara.
No,
in a way. Well, I guess it's kind of heroic. I mean, he makes a stand.
Yeah, he does.
He kills a bunch of people.
He does take on a handful of guys just for because and so on, because he's still looking for that glory and so on like that. But the buddy gets injured and everything like that, and so they decide to play dead and then beat feet out of there before the soldiers kind of find him. And
he's trying to save his friend.
Yeah, his buddy, and then somehow, what?
We're missing a key element, though. His buddy the whole time is engaged to a chick named Otsu.
Yeah, old Otsu.
And he's like, the orphan chick, back with the weird priest who likes to get naked randomly in the film.
Yeah, exactly. And go, don't worry about it. Man is born naked.
Yeah, right. That was actually a funny line, though. I was like, ha, nice one. And she's just like, oh, priest, you can stop.
she's like, well, he's not Catholic, so he's not doing anything weird.
Right. I'm not a boy. I'm safe.
There's a laugh track.
Yeah, right. It's like a sitcom.
What's his name? Matahachi, leaves his wife
Matahachi.
back there. Yeah, old Matahachi, So he's got this wife for some reason, but of course, Miyamoto just gets him all pumped and excited about going to war, and Miyamoto's got no family. He's just he's literally like a Ronin before being a samurai in a sense. His life has always been just being alone.
Yeah, no parents. All his family hates him. All his surviving family hates him.
Yeah. And then Matahachi has a bunch of family left there and so on like that. So they're kind of pissy.
And they like him.
Yeah, they like him, but they're kind of pissy at Miyamoto for taking their boy out to war.
Right. Yeah, so Matahachi gets injured. They're dodging enemy soldiers, and they somehow find some crazy like scam artist woman and her kid, her like 16-year-old daughter, living by themselves, who I guess like her husband was a bandit who got murdered by another bandit. I think that was the backstory.
Yeah, well, because at some point there's the group of like kind of like gangster, like criminal guys who for some reason they don't like to wear pants too. For some
yeah, no one wears pants. That's what I noticed in this.
Well, those guys too. The guys just walk around looking tough. He's got like his vest on and everything like that. No pants. I mean, he's got the little like thong thing, but that's it. It's just like that's a weird way to be threatening.
Right. I mean, I'd feel threatened. I'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
You're making me nervous, bud. Put your sword away, dog.
Yeah, all three of them.
I'm sorry, playa.
So yeah, at some point, her husband was kind of killed and whatnot. So she just takes these two guys in and just heals them for like it seems like 2 months or something like that. Like they're there for quite some time, and
Musashi's not injured. He's only there so Matahachi or whatever his name is could get better.
Yeah,
like he's only looking out for his friend.
Yeah, so he's letting his buddy heal, and then he's just out like hard horse riding every day.
Yeah, right. Doing Miyamoto Musashi things.
Exactly. He's just riding this horse back and forth like like he's at the drag strip or something like that all day long.
Right. Right. And it's weird because it's one of those things to where it's like I guess like Musashi is like for those girls, I guess he's like an attractive figure because he's like a man's man. Like he's rough around the edges. This is kind of going later into the film, but like the priest says something about Musashi where he's like, you think you can control the world, or you feel like you can like move the world with your own power, but the world's bigger than you. Like you're nothing.
Yeah.
So that kind of sums up Musashi and like the whole, I'd say the entire part of Samurai 1. It like sums up the way his whole character is. Like he's rough around the edges. He's aggressive. He's more apt to just fucking murder people than to talk things out with whatever's on hand. He doesn't give a shit. But there's this weird moment where he's, hard horseback riding, and Matahachi is like laying in hay, just, laying about, all injured. And he tries to fuck the 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
And people don't have any smooth moves back in the 1600s. They just go straight to like throwing them down on the hay. Right.
After telling everybody about Otsu, where he's like, "Oh, I love my Otsu. Come here, woman."
Yeah, it's been like a month and a half. It's not like it's been like 3 years or anything like that. It's like I feel like I want to say it was only like a couple months they were there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was very long. And so, the girl is not about it. She gets out of there. Yeah. Immediately jumps on horseback with Musashi, and then first chance she gets, she tries to jump Musashi, and Musashi's just like, "Get away from me, bitch."
Yeah, exactly. And then
he literally like, what does he do? He like throws her to the ground, just like, "Get off me."
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, "You don't want to hold me in your arms?" It's like, "No, not at all. Never. Fuck no. Hell no."
Yeah, right. Right.
He's like, "I'm a one sword guy." Well, technically, I like two swords, but like my swords. Yeah, so
I only hold my own piece.
she's trying to go after that, and then even to top it off, it's like, okay, so you got that weird like love triangle of some kind there, and then you have the mom who, for some reason, is also really trying to pick up on these guys too.
She's trying to pick up Musashi.
Yeah, she's using the cougar powers.
Yeah, like she's desperately trying to get Musashi, and this is about the time the bandits show up, and I guess they make a plan to try and escape. Essentially what's going on: hide some of the gold, and then like try to escape, however they can. And these fools show up, and Matahachi and the daughter are away. It's just the cougar and Musashi are in the building. And so these dudes are just tearing the house apart, right? And eventually one of them's like, you know what? I'm going to fuck this old lady. Like, it's go time. And Musashi takes that personally. And he found at some point, I think they were using like a boken, like a wooden sword, training sword.
Yeah.
As like a fire poker. And Musashi pulled it out. He's like, I can fucking kill people with this. This is nice.
Yeah, he's literally using this wooden sword to beat the living daylights out of all these guys here. And so
he beats the shit out of them. They all have real swords. They have spears and whatnot. And Musashi's just running around this house, just beating dudes down with a wooden sword.
Yeah, it's exactly. And he uses that wooden sword for quite some time. Like, that's like almost like his weapon in this whole movie. It's this wooden sword.
100%.
So yeah, he beats these guys, kicks their ass, everything like that, and just is like, you don't come around here again, almost in a sense. Second, these guys all run out. This lady was just about ready to be like gangbanged by the gang, and then she's all like, she's just turned on by Musashi, just beating everybody with a wooden sword. And she's like, oh, come take me right now. He's like, whoa, Jesus, lady, you're like twice my age. Like, forget about it.
Forget about it. I got this sweet wood sword. I'm gonna fucking hold this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need you and stuff. And then she's really trying to get him and stuff like that. Be like, well, that's like a woman has needs and all that kind of stuff. He's like, forget it. And then she literally, the second that he walks out the door, she's like, well,
he just hands her the wood sword.
Here you go. Puts in the fireplace first.
Yeah, right. I'll warm it up for you.
But yeah, the second that he says no and everything like that, she just like literally is gonna throw this guy down the stairwell practically. Like, that is it.
Right. Yeah. As soon as he's away, like goes off on his own, she basically is just like, he tried to rape me. He forced himself on me. He's a brute. He's evil.
Yeah. She like went to like the tabloids and was like, well, I'm gonna like smear his name all across this thing here.
Right. 100%.
Because how could a man not want me?
Right. Yeah, she took it personally, and then like it's just like building up at this point. Musashi goes to war. The war's not what he thought it was. He's digging trenches. He joins the Confederate army like at the downturn when the Confederates had no boots and no ammo.
Yeah, just they were not gonna win anymore. Nope, not at all. Like this is it. This is the last day of war.
Right. He showed up with like his lunch pail on the first day of school. Like, I'm so happy to be here.
He was one of those guys who was really looking forward to like this. Like, this is gonna be great. There's gonna be so much glory and all this kind of stuff. And he found none of it.
Right. He comes out unscathed, but his friend's jacked up. So he does everything he can to save his friend. Lets his friend heal so his friend can go back to Otsu. And then his friend's just like, you know what? Well, the daughter doesn't want me. And Musashi, apparently, after all these years of knowing him, I'm just going to believe this cougar lady. And you know what? Fuck Otsu. This lady, she wants to fuck, so I'm going to go with her now. And just abandons his friend who saved his life.
Yeah, exactly.
And all three of them just leave.
They just leave, and it's just like, well, whatever. So Miyamoto's like, I guess I'll go back to town and whatnot, and you guys go your own way. Right,
and the whole point to go back to town, just to be a good guy and tell Matahachi's mom that he's not dead, and tell Otsu that he's alive. That was his whole point of going back to town.
Yeah, he was a guy trying to just do the right thing, and for some reason he gets back there, and then the whole town just starts to blame him for like all the mishaps, for like not for like the other whatever son not making it back. Literally, like, it's his fault for going to war. And then
he did blow through a military checkpoint and beat up some guards.
That is true. He did come into town fucking like a raging bull.
Right. They were like, "Hey, do you have traveling papers?" He's like, "I'm gonna show you this wooden sword. I got that."
Yeah, I don't need traveling papers of this. Just start swacking people and so on like that.
Right.
Well, once again, he takes on just a whole group of guys with a wooden sword. Ballsy as all can be.
Well, and that's one of the things that like I forgot how long he was basically like on the run in the woods around the town, avoiding capture and just beating the fuck out of soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like he even killed a couple of them.
Yeah, well, because
with his wooden sword.
Yeah, because that's the thing is he's fighting like Rurouni Kenshin, almost how he fights with the sword the opposite direction. That's a weird non-violent kind of way, but at the same time he's clubbing guys and so on like that, just brutalizing them. And those every single day those guys are out on patrol and they come back and be like, dude, we just got bested by a guy with a wooden sword. Let's
dude,
say
100%.
He had 6 swords and there was 10 guys out there. So I don't want to tell people the story that one man with a wooden sword beat us all.
Right, and eventually, you have all these soldiers, and then they force the town to search the entire mountainside for Musashi. Still can't find him.
Yeah, they can't.
He's just doing whatever he wants. Does whatever he wants. He comes into town whenever he wants.
Yeah, they bring that army guy in, and he's just like, I want 2 of everybody's family to go out and search these fields. Come on now, we're gonna find this man.
Right.
So it's
right,
this is almost like when they have those Vietnam or Return from Vietnam movies, and then the guy can't fit back into society. That is literally what this is, but it's in Japan.
Oh yeah, well that is his Rambo First Blood moment in this movie.
That's exactly what it's like.
I mean, it's fucked up, man. So it's the town hates him. He shows up. They're just like, oh, it's the guy who made everything bad when he was here. And it's not Matahachi. I fucking hate Musashi. And then, Musashi risks life and limb and freedom to go find Matahachi's mom, who fucking hates his guts, knows she hates his guts, just to tell her, hey, your son's not dead. He's alive.
Yeah.
I only came back for that. And then, Otsu is like, where's my fiance? And he's like, don't ask about that. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you. Don't worry.
Yeah,
he'll send a care package letter in a bit. You're not going to like it.
He'll be at a bridge somewhere whispering your name before he goes back to this old cougar lady.
Yeah. Well, the daughter makes fun of him because he's such a pussy. He's nothing like Musashi.
He kind of is a pussy, let's be honest.
Yeah, he really is. I'm kind of glad Miyamoto drops this friend in this movie here. Let's be honest. If this guy had to trail along through all 3 of them, I don't know what.
I can't remember if he's in the next installment. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too. If he does show back up and whatnot, he probably.
I mean, if anything, he'll show up and Miyamoto's just gonna look at him and be like, "You pussy, get the fuck away from me."
And what I mean? Yeah.
Right. So he goes back. He tells the mom that her son's not dead, and that was the whole reason for him being there. And then this fucking old bitch tricks him into taking a bath and eating some food just so he would get captured.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't even think they were able to capture him at that point.
No,
he escapes.
He escapes once more because he doesn't get captured finally until the priest guy cons him into it, or the monk,
right?
I call him. That's the dude that finally gets him because he doesn't con him. He literally cons him as being like, oh, it's gonna all work out. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like I got power and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'll walk around the nude through town. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? That
Trust the Buddha, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the biggest dick swinger around this town, so don't worry.
Right. I walk around naked. Nobody says a goddamn thing.
So Musashi's back in the woods, and finally, I want to say Otsu and
the monk guy
go out there together, and stuff like that. And they kind of find him and whatnot. And they give him like the rundown, be like, hey, well, just, come back. We're going to work it all out. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's like, yeah, they'll get over it. And
it's going to be fine. We're totally not going to string you up in a tree.
Yeah.
It's going to be totally fine.
So, they bring him back, and 2 seconds later, they're stringing him up and throwing him up, and like they put him really high in a tree. And I even thought,
he's like 30 feet up there, dude. Like he's way up in that tree.
And I just thought about because it's an old movie, so somebody is legitimately hanging that high up in the air for some of those.
Probably the actor, the actual actor.
Yeah, because once again, it's an older movie, so the idea of stunt doubles isn't really a new concept yet.
Right? They're like, you're gonna be okay.
People have been doing this for years.
Look how thick this rope is. It's gonna be fine.
So now Musashi's just up there. He's swinging back and forth and so on like that. Little kids run by and start throwing rocks. Like it's just like something to do on a Tuesday.
Right. The priest is taunting him the whole time, just like, you think your power can move mountains, bitch? How's that tree feel, motherfucker?
Yeah, exactly. It's just up there. Then he comes out like at night and be like, "Yeah, moon's pretty good looking right now. What do you think?"
Yeah, right. Hey, have you thought about preparing for death yet? Okay, bye.
And the whole time I was just like, "End it now! Just chop my head off." He's like, "I can't chop your head off. You would still come after me."
Right, yeah.
So they just leave him up there pretty much just I don't know, just I guess they just drain him of all his sanity and so on like that. It keeps saying, they keep telling them that like, oh, the next day we'll finish you off, and then it seems to never kind of happen. Like he's up there for a few days, it feels like.
Yeah, the monk keeps telling them to like prepare for death and like contemplate his death.
Yeah, exactly. And finally
Otsu's just watching them from the corner too, just like, you know what, maybe I picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, well, poor Otsu too. There's even a scene before because she actually goes to. She tries to attempt to save him multiple times by convincing the priest, and that guy's like, "Nah, no way, forget about it." He got what he got. And then there's even that creepy other rapey guy that appears all of a sudden to Otsu, and only the priest is the monk dude stops him. Because that guy's like, "All right, let's go over here. There's a nice room right here. What do you think?" It's just like, where do these people keep coming from? It's just 1600 style.
Just showing up. Hey, I heard you have a guy up in a tree.
Yeah. Hey, your husband left you, right? You got that letter. I heard you got that letter that he found some other lady and her mom and whatnot like that, and that's where he's living now. So, hey, I'm available.
Yo, what's up, Otsu?
Yeah, so the town kind of gets a little bit distracted with her on that, but
let's be honest. The shots they show of all the villagers, she's like the prime pick. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, she really is. Yeah, she is like literally in a sense, princess of this town here. So all these other guys are just coming around like the suitors and so on like that for Otsu.
Right, and Musashi showing no interest.
No, he doesn't care at all whatsoever.
He's just crazy. He's just crazy as fuck.
He's the ultimate kind of like old school workaholic in a sense. Like that's all he cares about is his samurai dreams.
Right. So Otsu finally gets the courage to just, chop his ass down out of the tree.
Yeah, and she decides to like pull it down herself with her bare hands and everything like that.
Right.
Which
would be hard. That'd be hardcore.
Yeah, well, she even gets her hands all cut up and bloodied too because of it. So, some bad rope burns.
Right, and it's kind of interesting because it's like, she's deciding, she went every route trying to convince them to just let him go, let him be free. And so now she's basically like, I'm like signing up with Musashi. I mean? Like, I'm done in this town now. Once I let this guy go, like, I can't live here anymore.
Yeah, that's it. And so she's willing to sacrifice that and whatnot and gets him finally down. And then they sort of escape for a moment. She's got some snacks in her bag or whatnot for him.
Yeah, right. She brought some Cliff Bars.
Yeah, And at first she's like, I can't reach the pocket. Like he shows her hands; they're all bloody and like rope burned up and everything like that. He's like, oh, okay, don't worry. I'll take the granola out or whatever she brought. And then they're sort of, at this point, I guess they are kind of on the outskirts of town, kind of contemplating what the hell they're going to do next, because now they're both, in a sense, fugitives. But
Right.
what the heck is it that brings them back in, though? I'm drawing a blank on that part.
Well, she ends up at the castle somehow. I'm blanking on that part too.
Yeah, well, because somehow, some way, something happens, and then the monk intervenes once more, but he's got a brand new idea. After telling him about, like, death and everything like that, which is kind of, he literally has been pre-planning this in a weird way, which, there's some stuff in this movie that I feel like, I think is less kind of mentioned, but, like, maybe if you read that 900-page Musashi book, beyond just the Book of the Five Rings, but then there's, like, another one out there that's, what this whole movie series is based on.
The biography.
Yeah, the super giant biography of Musashi. I feel like that might fill in some of those gaps right there.
Right.
From Eji Yoshikawa's novel, the Musashi one. That book. So,
because I want to say, basically, it's almost like he gets captured again.
I think so.
And like she gets basically taken. Oh, soldiers like ambush them, and they take off running through the woods, and Musashi's basically like fending off the soldiers, and they basically pick up Otsu and they just ride off with her.
That's right. And once again, he's defending them off with that wooden sword.
Just beating dudes down.
Just beating these guys down that have real weapons and so on like that. And they take her out. I think that's the thing is they're using her like a bargaining chip and whatnot. And I think that's what it was, because then Musashi goes and finds the monk dude again and stuff. He's like, "Yo, what happened to Otsu?" and stuff. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, she's fine. It's all good." You know what I mean? Like,
hey, she's fine. She's just at the castle, bro.
Yeah, just the castle. And then he's like, he takes him to the castle, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, real quickly, get up in that attic stuff." And then he puts him up in the attic, and then he just locks the attic on him and whatnot like that, and be like, "That's where you're gonna stay for a while. I left some literature up there and everything like that. There's a Game Boy. Like, you got some time to kill."
That's one of my favorite parts is because they're separate. He asks where Otsu is. He finds out. And the monk like takes his sweet time walking to the castle, and Musashi's just like, running through the woods, with his wooden sword, gets to the castle walls in some random corner. He's like trying to climb up them to just break into the castle. And the monk's down below him, just like, "Hey, dude, you still an animal? What are you doing? What are you doing, man? There's a front door. You want to come through the front door? Come on, bud. Come on.
Come on in. Come on in. Have a seat.
I told you not to worry. I told you it was no problem, man."
It would have been even better if he was just standing there naked saying all this, too. Just very cool.
Right. Hey, man, I told you trust me.
Yeah, trust me.
It's the Buddha, player. Let's go.
So now he locks him in this attic. And
Upstairs thing.
Dude, I kid you not. I had a conversation with ChatGPT for like 15 minutes on this.
Oh, you went out.
Still nothing?
Oh, there you go.
That's so weird. Yeah. Okay. We have a little technical errors there of some kind or something like that. But I don't know what that's all about. But
maybe it's your mic.
Yeah. I don't know. You never know. I don't know. Well, we won't question it too much, but it could be something like that.
I don't know.
Because
or it's my headset.
It's been going down on your side too, though. So we'll just call it a Weird Friday incident. But
StreamYard's like, "Hey, how about that premium?"
yeah. I think you're milking that free membership a little too much right now.
Hey, bitch, we know what you're doing. We don't like it. Yeah. Don't you want to get rid of that duck in the corner?
They're like, well, I do get rid of it. That's what an editor's for.
They're like, "We know, Spence. We don't like that."
Yeah, you're milking it now, but yeah. So, as I said, this is what I was trying to tell you before that I got all jammed up. But I was really talking to ChatGPT for a while, trying to figure out like more about him being in that attic. And I was like, so what was going like? Was he legitimately just stuffed in an attic for like 3 years and whatnot? And like, what kind of training did he have while he was up there? I was really interested in knowing how this is, because this is a transformation moment right here. Was
it 3 years?
It's literally 3 years.
Okay. All I remember, I must have missed that part.
I don't think
I
it
just
says it in
remember
the
the monk
movie.
being like, everything you need is in those books. And I was like, what about like a toilet?
Yeah,
Some
food.
food?
Yeah, a shower. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're in the attic, can you even stand up properly?
Right.
He shoves him up there like it's like some kind of like retarded stepchild.
Right, right.
I don't want the neighbors to see you.
I know. That's so fucked up.
You know,
Go away, my shame.
yeah, just leaves him a bunch of old magazines up there and so on like that. And so apparently here, and the movie goes by kind of quick in this part, and that's why I was really kind of curious on how this was. I was like, in the book, does it go into real detail? Because this seems like a very pivotal moment that like Musashi's up there stuck in an attic, and he's forced to have to be with his own thoughts and all this literature and so on like that on all kinds of teachings and philosophy and yada yada yada. And this is what turns him into becoming the actual samurai and so on like that. Is this
Right.
attic? This attic.
That's
like
what
his
turns him
prison.
into Musashi. Yeah.
Yeah.
The attic turns him into Musashi.
Yeah, because really,
This is his origin story. That is his super soldier serum.
yeah, it's the attic.
Yes.
The attic's really like his island that Green Arrow has to go to in a sense. And
Oh, that's a better analogy. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
better analogy.
That's really what it is, and,
My second one I was going to go with, that's his family that gets murdered in front of him. He becomes the Punisher.
the Punisher. Except for apparently his family's already pretty much gone, so maybe that's what did
Right.
off, but yeah,
I like
really
the Green Arrow analogy. That's fucking perfect.
That's about right because that's 5 years, so that's about close enough here. His 3 years in the attic and whatnot, and this changes him from being a boy to a man in a sense. It's
Yeah, he becomes a man.
because a man he comes out of there and stuff, But yeah, it's interesting because he just kind of goes by in the movie kind of quick, and I felt like you could.
He starts wearing pants again.
Yeah, it looks better when he comes out there. He's got that samurai uniform on, and whatnot. He's got the pants and everything like that. It's like I feel like that's a good look going there. He's got the double sword action going and whatnot. And he's prepared.
Right.
He's changed his name and everything. We've always been calling him Miyamoto this whole time because it's just easier, I think. But his original name he goes by is what was it?
Takezo,
Takezo.
something like that.
Yeah. So and we also didn't mention too is that it's Toshiro Mifune is the dude who plays him, which is the guy from
Right.
Jimbo. He's also in like Hidden Fortress and so on, bunch of samurai
But
movies.
he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, so that's just cool in itself. And but yeah, once he comes out of this attic, which I think is just interesting, I really wanted to know more of the training that went on in there. It's like, did he get any other training, or is it just straight up like meditation and reading, like? What's he doing to work out and so on like that. There's a lot of questions I had for that.
Well,
part.
the Musashi novel, I'm pretty sure I'd have to look it up, but I want to remember hearing that, because it's so long ago and there's so little like evidence about Musashi's life that it's very fictionalized.
I bet you it really is because I don't even know how you pull 900 pages off. Like most people can't even write their own autobiography past 400 pages.
Right. Well, it's like one of the stories I first ever heard about Musashi, like I'm pretty sure it was him, was the first man he ever killed in a duel was like he beat a grown man when he was a child, basically like a teenager, beat a grown man to death with a wooden sword or a stick of some sort.
Yeah.
Like that's like the first story I remember hearing about Musashi.
I could totally believe it. What's the part we forgot to mention? You said stick, and it just reminded me. There's a part where he literally picks up a full-on log and like chucks it at like 8 guys.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of Paul Bunyan style of fighting, yeah. But yeah, he comes out and now he is the samurai, almost like a Ronin samurai warrior type thing, and as he's kind of leaving the town and he's got all this training from the monk and so on like that. As I said, it kind of in the movie it skips by it. As I said, that almost felt like a movie in itself. You could have had just that section there, but
Right.
He finally runs into Otsu, or actually technically she sees him on this bridge there and whatnot, and she's been like, I don't know, working at like the mini mart, for
Well,
the last
he
3
told
years.
her that she was near the bridge. The monk did.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. So he just wanted to get it. He just wanted to see her one more time because this is the lady that saved his life. You know what I mean? Did all kinds of good stuff for her and so on like that. And really is, in a sense, why he's alive to this day. You know?
Yeah, her and the monk are the only people. And like the monk, it's like, did he care about Musashi, or was the monk like, I guess he did, right? He
think,
cares about Musashi.
I think it was all a test. I think like all the junk stuff he did to him at first and so on is I think he had this faith in him that he could be this really
He could be a better man.
and he could be a better man and all this kind of stuff, but he had to go through the trials and tribulations, and that was part of it. Was in a sense, he had to lose all that he was, because in a sense, you would say that he was a
He had to get
man.
naked and string him up in a tree. That was the test.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones, because Musashi was the wild, angry young man, and now it's like he needed this philosophy and to meditate and to think about his actions and figure it all out and so on. And now that's where he's at, and he wanted to have one last look at Otsu, but Otsu has eagle eye vision, so she was able to spot him in like 2 seconds and run all the way up there. And they have this conversation on the bridge where, first he's like, I have to go off. Just believe me when I say this. I want to say thank you, but, I got to go on my samurai journey. She's like, oh, but I really want to come. He's like, I won't hold you back. He'll be fine. Sure, I'll go pack my stuff. And then he just tells like, oh, shit. I should have just said no, but.
Well, yeah, and they also like tell each other that they love each other.
Yeah. So there kind of is like this, like she realizes that, of course, the previous husband was a total jerk off, and but really the real man of town is Musashi.
Right. Now that he's wearing pants, he's even more desirable.
Yeah, he's got his man pants on and so on like that. So he's there. But then as she goes to get her stuff, which I like to assume that must have taken a very long time, because Musashi had enough time to nicely carve in a saying on the bridge that says "forgive me," and it's in Japanese lettering, so that means that's more than like American like letters. So it's not like he just pulled out a pocket knife and quickly scratch. No, he did a really good job. So that means she was probably packing her bags for like 40 minutes.
Right.
Getting her hat, she can get all the stuff. She has her like giant luggage and everything like that.
Right.
She thinks she's going to the Bahamas. You know what I mean?
Right. 100%. That's one thing that I always kind of forget about those films, is that there is like this weird, I guess, like love story involved in it.
Yeah. There's actually quite a bit throughout this whole movie, whether it be with either characters that just everybody seems to like Musashi. Well, all the girls seem to like Musashi, and then when they get pissy, it feels like if this is a modern movie, they'd be like, oh, he must be gay or something like that. They get all pissy about that. Like, he's not into me. Like, there's no way he could be into anybody then.
Right.
And so, except for Otsu, but she, once again, she thinks that like he'll be the savior, and he's like, nope, he's out of here. But he has to, you know what I mean? I feel like that's the powerful ending of this movie, is he decides that like when she's packing all her stuff, he's like, he carves "forgive me" on there, and he has to beat feet out of there, because there's no way he's going to be able to go on a samurai journey with somebody else. And I think the thing too is he learned what it was like to take somebody else on a samurai journey, and his best friend of town pretty much just betrayed him. So it wasn't worth it. You have to do this on your own.
Well, he also knows he's going to go live in the woods for like 5 years.
Yeah, she's not going to
mastering his two sword style.
Yeah, the two sword style. Because I did read that book of the Five Rings kind of as we were doing this, because that was another thing I've always wanted to do. And that's not nearly as long as the Musashi 948 whatever page epic.
No, it's much shorter.
Yeah, it's a nice, short, quick little read, and it's definitely like, because I wasn't really too sure what it was all about, but it's like, oh, it's more like the philosophical, way of the warrior that you could use and other things in life and so on. And in the process, I was like, wow, I really know where Bruce Lee got a lot of his stuff from. That was like the main thing I noticed. I was like, there's so
especially the parts about water.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that all comes
like the book of water or whatever it's called.
Yeah, because there was
to be formless.
Books. Yeah, there was the Book of Water, Book of Fire, Earth, Wind, and then Empty. Well, it was Emptiness, but that was called
the Void.
The Void.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so it was his kind of, and I like how the book's very much like it has that very like direct writing of like ye olden days where it's like you must do this every day. Don't forget.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every day.
Yeah, lots of talk about discipline.
Yeah, good discipline stuff in there. I really
Some
appreciate
random parts of talking about the proper use of a spear.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a part of the section there on guns. I thought it was kind
Right.
of like I'm like, oh yeah, because it's like it's like once again, it's like they like barely just got guns at this time period.
Oh, what was the one? Because you showed it to me where it's like the use of strategy is not moving to the will of my enemy, but making my enemy move to my will or something like that. Compared to Bruce Lee's writing, where it's like
Yeah.
when my enemy contracts, I extend. When he extends, I contract.
Yeah,
And it's
'cause I was
basically they're almost carbon copies in a way.
yeah. Because I was going down that because once I was kind of reading, I'm like, I had to look up. I'm like, man, the Bruce Lee. I asked the Chat GPT. I'm like, the Bruce Lee's philosophy stuff is very similar. And then it's like, well, here, I'll make a nice little graph for you that's puts them side by side. And I was like, yeah, they're quite a lot of that stuff's there, And I mean, I know that obviously this book was in Bruce Lee's like reading of all the stuff he was into,
Right.
It is kind of amazing.
And there's also no new ideas when it comes
yeah.
to a lot of things.
No, it's just it's how somebody else kind of like in a sense groups it all together. It's pretty much at the end of the day. That's what makes it kind of the newer, fresher version. And who knows? Miyamoto probably picked up stuff. I mean, obviously he was up in the attic for 3 years reading all this. This dude's collection. His
Right.
manga collection up there in the attic.
You're right. Going through his Game Boy Advance library,
Yeah,
learning all those life lessons.
yeah. He was given all. Yeah, he had the Fire Emblem series to keep him
Yeah,
occupied.
he was playing Sonic Advance too, and he was like, you know what? This makes sense about pole arms.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the
I-
proper use.
Yeah, I like when they go through the different weapons and so on because I like this chapter on guns. They're like, well, yeah, guns, great, and so on. And if an army's got a large selection of guns, they're going to make a difference. Until that guns or until they run out of that first shot, then it's all about the sword.
Right. I like the one where he's like was it like a true warrior or a warrior must have no favorite weapon, but be proficient with all weapons. And then like a little bit later on, it's like the noble art or the noble and great art of the longsword and why it's the best. Basically like that.
Yeah, it's like don't get
How
too proficient.
mastering the longsword is like, one of the greatest things you could do.
Yeah. Well, and it's just the interesting stuff too. It's like because you're supposed to have the long sword in one hand, and then you have the short sword in the other hand.
Right.
So it's like that. You use both of them. It's like, well, yeah, you got both of them there. Why wouldn't you not? Realistically, it's like he almost could have been like using the Leonardo style, where you got the dual swords on your backs thing, but instead he's using the long sword and the short sword together.
Right. I can't wait for some of the other ones for you to watch it so we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
this
just
one's
fucking
definitely.
dope.
This one's definitely the origin one. This is like
Right.
the whole time he's not even called Miyamoto till like the very end of the movie. It's like the town.
He hasn't had a single duel yet. No duels at all.
Other than beating dudes with wooden swords.
Yeah, he beats a lot of motherfuckers down with a wooden sword.
He literally has his training wheels on in this movie.
Which is, it's kind of like a neat allegory for this, the first film. He's not refined yet. He doesn't have his sword style. He doesn't have his polished skills. He's just a fucking berserker running through the woods without pants on, beating motherfuckers down with a wooden sword.
Yeah, he's literally just this animal thing. It reminds me of like, I don't know why, but I think of there was like that Che Guevara movie that was like, it was like a prequel, but it was like before Che really did anything. He was just like on a motor, I think it's called Motorcycle Diaries. It was just him and his buddy out like cruising through South America or whatnot like that. I remember our friend Cisco, he's like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. It was kind of like the Che movie before Che was cool. I thought that was just like, well, for that movie, that's about kind of right. He's like, 'cause nothing really exciting happened in that one, but unlike that, like here, there's quite a bit of exciting things happening in this kind of origin story. But at the same time, it's like that one that sort of leads off where you're like, shit, I can't wait to see what's next, you know? And it made me kind of wonder back in the day. It's like, was this like Lord of the Rings, where like you're like, well, but you got another year to wait for that next one to come out. Better get pumped and ready.
Dude, that time period was like Cisco's origin story, which it kind of was, but he went from, being like, Che Guevara is so awesome and the Beatles and all this stuff, and then now he works in finance. He's like the complete fucking opposite of what he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No more freedom fighting in that sense, but
flirting with communism and being like, communism's kind of a good idea. And then now he's like, I'm a finance bro.
Yeah, got the full steam of money going ahead, but yeah, I just thought that was just kind of what reminded me there, because I was thinking about that. Like for some reason, I was thinking about that Che Guevara like Motorcycle Diaries movie. This like the whole time was like it's kind of like one of those ones where it's like this build up. Is he's not doing any of like the, I guess you would say, like the textbook legendary things yet. It's like, like the very early days and so on. And just the way this movie ends is like it ends with the fact it's like, oh, now he's Musashi Miyamoto, and now you're gonna see.
I think of him as like his character in those parts is like, because this movie's old, right? 54. He's like the prototype for every single fucking samurai film, especially after just watching 13 Assassins before, where they're like, we need just like a savage brute who just beats people with sticks. Kind of like, Samurai 1.
Yeah,
we need Samurai 1 Musashi.
Yeah, that's totally it. Well, I feel like, because once again, he is like the archetype for so much stuff. I mean, even just in Samurai Champloo and all that kind of stuff, I can see that there.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the same way that Wong Fei Hung is for Chinese sort of storytelling, even though Wong Fei Hung's literally like late 1800s, of course, but that dude's got like more than 100 movies about him and so on like that. Everything from Once Upon a Time in China to even Drunken Master, for some reason, is the same guy, which is like the strangest thing ever, because it's like you watch the different movies, like, so he was just a bumbling like idiot like as a kid, and then like he turned into like a sophisticated like doctor, medicine man, like kung fu master.
I feel like they have a couple different ones. They have that. They have whatever Jet Li and Bruce Lee's character is in Fist of Legend, and Fist of Fury or whatever the Bruce Lee one is.
Is that one based off a real guy? I know it's a period piece, of course, but I didn't know if that.
I don't know if it's based off a real guy. Well, maybe, I guess modern one would be Ip Man.
Yeah, because Ip Man's a real dude, so. I like the one that, like,
I want the Jet Li one to be real.
I know. I like it. I love, speaking of even Bruce Lee and Ip Man, I love how like this is one that always makes me laugh.
The one Legend and Heroes of the East. Isn't that like supposed to be the same guy who was real?
I think that might be Wong Fei Hung.
Is it? Okay.
What's the very last? What's that? I said wait. There was
Once again, I'm not hip on Asian history, but I am a consumer of media.
Well, that's how I feel. I feel like I know these stories because of movies and video games and comics and so on. Like, which that's.
I think you were more intellectual with it. You're like watching it, observing it, and be like, I'm going to take these lessons in. And I'm more like, yo, let's go outside. I'm going to do spin kicks like him. Let's do it.
Well, when we were kids, it was like we had like the Street Fighter ambition of like, dude, maybe we'll just like sail away to Japan and train like Ryu and Ken somewhere. We'll just have some old Asian guy take us in.
I still want to do that, but that's not possible.
I know. I still get like, we'll probably have some midlife crisis where next thing you know, we're over there in Japan.
Dude, I can't express the pain in my soul that I had when I heard David Lee Roth talk about like, yeah, man, I just had the money and I went out to Japan. I just learned the Japanese sword. And I was just like, fuck, why can't that be me?
I know. It's like, that's what I want to do, man. But I'm also not David. I'm not Diamond Dave either.
I know. I got Diamond Dave money. Fuck.
Yeah, that Diamond Dave money never runs out.
Well, he's Diamond Dave. He can't be poor. He's Diamond Dave.
That's that's like that kind of thing. When you're at that point, when you have that Van Halen money, it doesn't matter. Every month, that money just keeps pouring in. Just direct deposit right back into your bank account. You could blow every single dime, and it will just come right back in there because those albums are always going to sell. There's always going to be, even just like the money from Spotify and YouTube and all that kind of stuff of modern day stuff.
Well, besides just that, I feel like, he doesn't get enough love and attention that he deserves because he's like a true, he's so fucking interesting. I mean, the dude went and became not a paramedic. He was just an EMT basic, but he didn't have to be an EMT basic working on a fucking ambulance in LA, but he did it.
Yeah, he's like the top 5 biggest rock singers of all time. And he's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do it, Or it was like
just because.
It was like in the late 80s when he got kind of into all the extreme sports type stuff. So he's out there rock climbing and all kinds of shit just because why not? Fuck it.
He's so fucking cool. I'm sure there's biographies and stuff, but I can't wait for the true Diamond Dave documentary to come out where it's just and I'm sure a lot of it has no footage of the crazy stuff he did because he doesn't give a fuck about that. It's not like he did any of that stuff for fame or attention. He just did it because he's fucking he's like a Renaissance man. He's just awesome.
He's just doing stuff to do so. No, I always love Diamond Dave, and if he ever pops up on anything, I'm like, I always want to hear what his latest adventure kind of is and the things that he does.
Him and Henry Rollins, two of the most interesting people from music of all time.
Yeah, Henry Rollins traveling all around the world, going to all kinds of places by himself, And at the end of the day,
I'll go to fucking Egypt. I don't care.
And my favorite thing is he said the most dangerous place he's ever been in is L.A.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, the main reason, I remember he said that in one of the interviews, he's like, the main reason is because in other countries, if you're in North Korea or something like that, people know that if they do anything, that's it. They'll never be seen again. Where in Los Angeles, people, or especially in America, but especially Los Angeles and California, people just don't give a flying fuck what goes on, and they don't have a whole lot of worry. The worst thing, I go to jail, big whoop.
Right, I'll be out.
Yeah, so it's there's not a whole lot of fear in a sense, the same way that there is in those other countries that people think would be more dangerous.
Right. Yeah, he's interesting. That's one of those things where I fucking missed it, man. I'm so mad because I didn't know about it till the day of, and I had something I had to do. I can't remember what, but I was talking to this random person at work, and we're talking about music. And for whatever reason, I had a kick to listen to some old Black Flag. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "What are you listening to right now?" And usually it's metal and stuff like that. I'm like, honestly, I'm listening to Black Flag right now. And she's like, "Hey, Henry Rollins is going to be at this public library here in town, talking about his life and his latest travels." And I was like, "What? Henry Rollins at a public library?"
Was he doing the spoken word things?
It wasn't that. It was he was doing something, but I was like, I don't give a fuck what Henry Rollins is doing. I'll go listen to him talk about whatever. He could talk about something that I'm completely against. I'll go listen to it. It's Henry fucking Rollins.
Exactly. You remember when back in high school when they used to have that? He had that show on. I think it was on Fuse.
Yeah.
One of those random offshoot music.
His letters he would write and he'd read them.
Yeah, and I remember he always would have cool guests on there, like Tom Morello or Marilyn Manson or all kinds of stuff and whatnot. But that was a cool run of I remember we always looked real forward to that, whatever the heck was. I was like, that's where I remember kind of getting initially okay, this is who Henry Rollins was because he used to appear on a lot of ththose shows.
His letters he would write like Dear Nancy, you fucking bitch, just go off.
Oh man, yeah.
Ted Cruz, you look like a Keebler elf. Yeah, he's awesome. He's interesting guy.
Yeah, just like Diamond Dave, and Diamond Dave gets to go to Japan, and because he's done martial arts for ever. That's why he's got the cool kicks and flips and all sorts of stuff. But the fact that he once again he just goes out there and just goes trains in a dojo. Because still at the end of the day,
what?
Yeah.
Much like Musashi, he is I know there's other great frontmen, Robert Plant, stuff like that, like rock frontmen. Mm-hmm. But I always say Diamond Dave. That's like when I think of frontmen, like rock frontmen, high energy, get the crowd into it, get you energized. You could forget if the music kind of fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like if you have a frontman like a Diamond Dave, it just makes your band so much better.
Yeah, literally, it's like one of those ones. I personally don't think it gets much better than that either, too. You know.
Right? Try to name one before him that is like when you think of like the quintessential rock frontman.
Yeah, the
You
guy
know,
who like, yeah, the guy who really, because that's okay. Yeah, because you think about like as far as just straight frontman guys who don't play an instrument or something like that. I mean, what do you got? You got like Jim Morrison. Yeah, you got Robert Plant. You got Ozzy Osbourne. I guess, but that'd be pretty close too, as being somebody who's just kind of what's he gonna do, on
right? Yeah,
stage.
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there is a few of them, but yeah, Diamond Dave is the guy. He's got the looks. He's got the skill. He's got all the moves. He's got this. He's a perfect example. Is like the fact that like he goes and does it after like he leaves Van Halen just because he doesn't like the way that it's sort of going, or they kind of. I think it's Eddie Van Halen.
I think they kind of forced him out. Like everything I've ever heard was Eddie Van Halen's like girlfriend or wife was like the name of the band's Van Halen, and you have Diamond Dave up there, and he's doing these spin kicks and soaking up all the spotlight. This is
Yeah,
Van Halen, not David Lee Roth band.
yeah. So
I feel like that was the end.
I think kind of so, and because then it's like, well, I always say it's like then David Lee Roth goes off and does his own solo thing, and it's like it's almost like one like, oh man, how are you gonna find another guitar player like Eddie Van Halen? And he finds Steve Vai. It's like, well, you almost found the guy like literally just as good, if not even better, like almost in a weird
Right,
way.
right.
Maybe. And it's like those. I hate to sort of say it, but those David Lee Roth albums, like those are like almost like even better than the Van Halen albums by that point.
Yeah. They weren't as groundbreaking because Van Halen broke so many fucking boundaries when it came to like rock guitar and stuff like that. But Steve Vai, I mean, dude, talk about somebody who like not reinvented guitar, but I mean like
Took it to another
goddamn
level.
put his fucking like his fingerprint on it.
Yeah.
Anything he's in, anytime
So-
he touches a guitar, he doesn't even have to play it. He just has to touch it. And it
Yeah, man.
makes new fucking resonating sounds that no one's heard before.
Have you ever seen the movie Crossroads?
I don't think so. No.
So it's literally it's a blues movie, and it stars Ralph Macchio, and he's trying to be the Italian boy trying to figure out how to learn the blues and become the best blues guitar player and whatnot.
This sounds like a dumb movie, but I want to watch it.
But it sounds kind of dumb, but it's kind of cool. So he finds an old blues man who's gonna like show him the ways, like literally kind of Mr. Miyagi style. And he has to go down to the crossroads, and pretty much in a sense, the devil has somebody he has to battle, and he has to battle Steve Vai in a guitar duel at the very end of the movie.
Oh, well, sorry, Ralph. You're going to hell.
Yeah, you're not gonna make it, But it's definitely worth checking out. I actually think it's pretty good. Like it's from like 1988 or something like that, and it's all blues infused, But
That sounds pretty cool.
yeah, it's
I like
pretty
Ralph
badass.
Macchio.
Yeah, and then there's Ralph Macchio, and as I said, Steve Vai at the very end. It's like that's almost like the oh shit. Well, one, it's like for some reason Steve Vai I feel like is kind of an odd choice because like you're watching this like heavy blues movie, so it's like that's Steve Vai's the guy they went to for
Right.
the final boss, but okay.
He was featured on a song by this band called Polyphia. I think I showed you Polyphia before, where it's like all instrumental.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's pretty dope. I'll have to send it to you after this.
Yeah, so
He's fucking awesome, dude. He's just amazing.
he's so good. As I said, just him combined with David Lee Roth, I just felt like was such like a power band,
Right. Right.
And it's like I say I dig that, like the Eat 'em and Smile, and then the Skyscraper album, like those two right there, like super good. It's right there in the '80s and whatnot, But,
Right.
yeah, David Lee Roth,
And
I guess,
much like the band Swinging Utters, the punk band back in the day, that's what killed Van Halen for me. You get rid of Diamond Dave and you go with Sammy fucking Hagar.
yeah. And I mean, I'll say the Sammy Hagar stuff is it's good in a different way, but it's not David the Good. Let's just say
No, it's not Diamond Dave.
no, it's not Diamond Dave. And so on. As I said, it's kind of like second wave, so on like that. Something's just kind of off, a little uncanny. Probably should have went with a slightly different band name, even, but that's okay.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan, as Musashi would probably say.
As Musashi would come by and beat somebody with a stick,
He'd be like, no good.
Well, at the end of the movie, though, Musashi he trades up his stick to have real swords.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited for Samurai 2 because then we're going to start getting duels. We're going to get some of that like classic Musashi action. Dude, speaking of Musashi, have you ever seen the game or played the game where it's like Brave Fencer Musashi?
Yeah, I meant to ask ChatGPT if that. I was really curious if that game had any relation to.
I don't know.
Musashi.
I remember buying it as a kid and being like, "This is not what I thought it was."
Well, you know what sounds weird? That game, I had a demo disc that had that game on it, and I thought the demo disc was super fun. I was like, man, this game is awesome. And then one day I finally bought it at the used game store or whatnot, and then I was like, I don't know what it was. Like, the demo was great, but for some reason, once you kind of had the full open world of the game, I was like, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just okay. Can't really get into it.
Right.
I really wanted to like it, but I just couldn't.
Was that like one of those demos where it's like back in the day you'd get like PlayStation Magazine, it would come with the CD, like the PlayStation disc attached to the magazine?
It may have been one of those ones. Actually, you know what? It might have been because that might have been where it came from. But the downfall is what they did of the Brave Fencer Musashi is the demo broke you up into like 3 like cool scenes in a sense. So it was almost like you cut the in between. I was just like, here's like a cool battle part. Here's a cool like action running part. Here's so it was like, oh, this seems pretty sweet. And it made it feel like it was level based. And then and then when you played it, I'm not saying it was bad. It just wasn't as exciting as I was kind of hoping for it to be.
Yeah, that was how I first played Metal Gear. And I think, what was the PlayStation beat 'em up game? Like their answer to like the Streets of Rage and all that stuff. It was like Fatal Fury Force or something like that.
Fighting Force.
Fighting Force?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
that's how I played those 2 games for the first time. But Metal Gear Solid was a demo on there.
Was that the demo that was in Japanese still?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Because I remember
I don't think it was.
There was a Metal Gear Solid demo disc, and like it was the one where it had subtitles, of course, but it was all in Japanese voices and so on like that, which is kind of a cool thing, which makes me almost I wouldn't even mind playing the game one day and have it be all in Japanese just out of curiosity.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I think maybe it was because I played it at Joseph Peterson's house, and this is like, third grade or some shit. Like I was a little kid. And then I remember I went home and like I talked one of my brothers into buying the actual game because I couldn't buy it. I didn't have fucking money.
No, yeah, you're a kid.
I was like,
you have to bargain and like, figure out ways and, go into debt.
Right. And I remember somehow I talked one of them into buying it. And that's how I got my hands on Metal Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they didn't like it. They were like, this game's fucking stupid.
It's one of those ones you either are going to be in or not, like right at that very beginning. Like, if you can't handle the stealth, that might be a little bit tough.
What do you mean I can't run in and just kill people?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Because I've watched a lot of people play Metal Gear before where it's like the stealth part was just, they almost couldn't wrap their heads around getting it right, They would just get caught like on every single screen, and next thing you know, get mowed down and whatnot. It's just like, yeah.
Well, that was definitely me as a kid. Because I remember, like, it took me forever to get to that first scene where you're with Meryl and you just gun down all the troops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, after you beat the shit out of Johnny.
Yeah,
just fuck him up. Yeah, Johnny's just fucked up in the corner.
Well, that's what I was like.
I remember it took me forever to get there.
Well, I was gonna say is like you'd be a kid and you'd get to like a scene like that, which nowadays you go, oh, it's like feels like it's 15 minutes into the game, but you're like, it's amazing how much of an epic that felt. I mean, that was like when I played Final Fantasy VII and like just being in like Midgar, and I thought like that felt like that was such like you could have told me that was the whole game was Midgar, and then lo and behold, you that opens up and it's like, oh, that's just a tiny section, and here's this whole open world now for you to go and explore.
Right, right. Well, it's a unique era, at least for us, because we got to, we both played on NESs and Super Nintendo, Sega, all that stuff. But once like N64 kind of had like Super Mario N64 kind of like gave you like this like grand view, like it felt like the world was getting bigger in video games. But I feel like PlayStation 1 and even Dreamcast with games like Shenmue, you're just like, holy shit. Like I'm in such like a big world now. Like I have so much to explore and do.
Well, Shenmue was the game that literally legitimately felt like I could virtually live a life in Japan. Like that was playing that game then. It was like, it literally was like, oh, this is like I get to be here in whatever, 1986. And I can experience all the Japanese-ness that I want.
I can do my forklift driving job. I can go to the bar, throw some darts, play some, what was it called? Blade Runner?
You play like
Edge Runner?
Space Harrier and...
Space Harrier.
Of course, you could go to the vending machines and you could collect the little toys out of it and so on by putting in 100 yen.
Go back home, go sleep, start over again. Go back to my forklift job.
Yeah, like that game. That's one of those games too that I feel like, unless you were there to really experience that game on Dreamcast, I don't think anybody you couldn't go pick up that collection on like PlayStation nowadays or Xbox or whatever. And if you didn't play it back in the day, I just don't think it would resonate the same way though, because it's one of those ones. I feel like you could still maybe get into it if you like really opened your mind, but like. Just being able to like see it like when we were playing it on like 2000 in the Dreamcast and just being like, holy crap, like it literally feels like we're here, like in a movie, and you're like living this life, in Japan,
Dude, or even just like the little like take it back to Metal Gear, the little Kojima moments that, at that time where, you got to call Meryl for the first time. It's like, I think I saw her number on the back of the CD case, and you're just like, looking at your CD case like, the fuck?
Yeah, I feel
Pick
bad
it
for
up
anybody.
and you find it.
Anybody has to rent it from Blockbuster and they just get a plastic case.
Oh yeah, you got to go through every single frequency.
Yeah, exactly, to get there. I think somebody eventually will give it to you if you take too much time, but
right.
Yeah, those are
or
those
you just
things
have to scroll through every one.
They always think about it's like, well, what happens when you buy a game used or something like that, and the guy doesn't.
It's still fucking cool. That's cool, and then like the Psycho Mantis part's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any other Konami games?
He's like, I see you like Castlevania.
Yeah.
Just those small things like that. But well, I think that's what I love about that, especially the N64. You could almost say 64, Saturn, Dreamcast, and PlayStation 1 era is 3D was kind of a new concept, and what I like about it too is everybody kind of had a different idea of how to put the games together. Like, they weren't just following the same formula. Which, don't get me wrong, it's like, but it's like nowadays everything seems to be like, oh, it runs on the Unreal Engine and it's twin sticks and it plays exactly the same as any other game you probably played. Probably looks kind of the same. It's just a slightly different story. Where back then everybody's like they had a completely different gameplay style, completely different controls, different graphics scheme. Everybody was kind of experimenting, and I think that made things feel a lot more unique because everything was radically different. Kind of the way almost you would say like with old cars, like why old cars I think stand out is because everybody's making them to like what they think is like the best way to make a car, and by this point in time we've got it's like, well, this is the most streamlined, this is the most aerodynamic, and so on, so they all kind of look the same. Like there's not a whole lot of uniqueness like there used to be.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
You used to have that Way of the Samurai game or whatever, wasn't that on PlayStation 1?
Oh fuck, dude, yeah. I think PlayStation 2.
Maybe it was PS2.
Where you chose your sword style and you would like train up your samurai cutting bamboo and
yeah, that one.
sitting under waterfalls.
Yeah. Did that take place in
Take your
Eno era?
samurai out and be like, okay, let's see how many people you can kill before you die.
Exactly. Just made it feel like it was like Monster Rancher and you're like raising a samurai.
I think that's kind of like what it was like, wasn't it?
Maybe that's what it was. I couldn't remember if it was like straight up like a fighting game that had more like, training scenarios in it, or if it was one of those games where like it was more like you did all the training and so on like that, and then you kind of like put your samurai to battle and hopefully hope you did a good job training it.
Right. Well, you would control your samurai and you'd have to learn moves and shit.
Okay, I thought it had
But
some.
yeah, but every sword style was like completely different. It
Mhm.
had like different pros and cons between all of them.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember that being kind
Damn,
of
that
cool.
needs to come to PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, I just remember that being there was a lot of cool concept stuff that was in that game. You know what I mean?
Right.
It
I
might be one of
remember
those
it being
ones.
tough.
Yeah, as I say, I remember it being hard. So it feels like one of those ones. If you went to go sit down with it nowadays, you definitely have to go like, okay, put some time into it. You're not. It's not going to come to you just instantaneously.
Right. Right. Yeah, I forgot all about that game.
But you know what's the weirdest
Damn.
thing though? Is speaking of just samurais and even with the samurai movies and all that kind of stuff, is isn't it strange that okay, for the most part, for many years, video games was such a Japanese thing, though ironically, there's not really very many samurai video games out there.
I know there was a Samurai Warriors that came out not that long ago from Koei.
Yeah, well, there's probably
Few
about
years.
3 or 4 Samurai Warriors games in total. Of course, you'll see like there's a Samurai class in Final Fantasy Tactics and things like that. But
Right.
for the most part, yeah, it's like okay, yeah, you had that Way of the Samurai.
The newest
game.
Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, Samurai
which-
Showdown. So it's like I'm not saying there's not games, but
Samurai Elements, but not Samurai. Like a
Yeah.
full-on Samurai game.
well, it's kind of like Western games too. Like Western games, you can almost
Right.
count them all on your hands and be like, yeah, there's 10 Western games. There's a little bit more than that, but there's not that many of them, ironically.
Okay, last great Samurai game, in my opinion, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Revengeance. I almost said Resurgence. Revengeance. That's a great game, though.
That game's fucking awesome.
Well, did you play Ghost of Tsushima?
I did. It's not bad. I just get bored of open world games. I don't have time.
I mostly do too, but that was the one game that I kind of was like, you know what? Speaking of like samurai games not really existing that much, this is the one I'm going to put some time into. And I played through that,
It was good.
and I was pretty impressed with it overall. And I say I agree with you on the open world thing because I'm mostly one of those ones like, unless it's maybe Grand Theft Auto or something like that, or somebody that actually does it really well. It's just like I feel like I hate to sort of say it, but so many of those games kind of they like drag you around too much. It's just like, dude,
Right.
let's get this going. You know what I mean? Don't make me do 10,000 little mini missions or so on like that. I felt at least Ghost of Tsushima was pretty dialed in. It didn't like dick with you too much in it and so on.
The combat was fun.
Combat was fun. It gave you that mixed match of like you're a samurai, but then like you meet like the girl that teaches you ninjutsu, which of course your father's like, oh, that ninjutsu, that's just cheap stuff. You know what I mean? Which kind of like I'm not gonna lie, like that game, if you didn't have any of those ninja moves, would be actually a much tougher video game because if you had to fight everybody
Right.
like samurai style, but like once you kind of get more of the ninja moves, it was almost like, whoop, assassinate those guys, throw some smoke bombs down. Now they can't see me. Stab, 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 and you like even almost
Right.
use all like those tactics to like beat the battles. So I felt like I saw where that my father character was saying that I was just a cheapskate for using all these moves.
Right, right. Yeah, it's kind of like how I feel about the Far Cry games. Like once you become like, you get all like this suppressors attached to your weapons, and you get like the good arrows and the bow and throwing knives and all the takedowns.
Mhm.
It just becomes like a stealth clear out outpost type game, which Ghost of Tsushima is kind of like that.
Yeah, because you just go
I-
get these
I would
Mongols
get
off our
my-
island.
Yeah, I'd get myself in trouble all the time though, because I would walk right up to the front gate. You know how you could do the animation where he's just like, whoa!
Yeah, where you pretty much you run in like Miyamoto, just fucking ready to like kick ass.
Yeah, or you run in and like the enemy, like the enemy AI will be like, oh, there's a guy here, and then you just hack the head off of one guy, and then it just turns into a frenzy. Like I would do that way too much in situations where I should not have done it, and I'd die.
Yeah, that would
But it
happen.
was so much cooler. It was so much more fucking fun.
Well, you just feel like a badass when you just, especially when you get that perk where you can kill 3 guys in a row, right? When you walk out into the town.
Right, right. That, and then like you start getting your countering down really good. And that's what kind of killed the game for me. I'd take breaks and I would lose that, muscle memory of being able to counter everything super quick.
Yep. That
Yeah.
happen. A lot of those games are like that. It's like you could take a break for like literally like 2 days, and like all of a sudden you're like totally thrown off. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like and I said, like, because even sort of towards the end, it's like I started being just cheaper with all the ninja moves because
Yeah.
those things. It's like, oh, and you just run around the level, and be like, come on, break this box open. Oh, okay, here's some more knives. Throw them. There's smoke bombs, and all those traps and so on like that.
Right. All the sticky bombs if someone got too close, you're like, oh, okay, you're gonna fucking die now.
Yeah, you pretty much throwing proximity mines all across the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That was less appealing to me because then it turned like that kind of turned the game into like it turned it into like the same format Tomb Raider has, the newer Tomb Raiders.
Oh, yeah, the newer Tomb Raiders and whatnot.
Even like The Last of Us, you could just go through that whole game just, stealth killing everybody.
Yeah, you pretty much you just crawl through the grass and just murder everybody like that way and so on like that.
Right. And that gets old to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm just a fucking psychopath. And
Maybe you want more honor. You want a straightforward fight.
well, that's like the last Metal Gear game that came out when I was going through that and just, dicking around, having fun. I got back into the same mode I always go into, which is like I set off an IED somewhere. So I fucking damage some people and I get them responding. And then I'm like up in an elevated position with nice cover, like hard cover. And then I'm just fucking gunning them down as they're trying to maneuver. And then I just maneuver on them. So like they have a fighting chance to like, try and like form an offensive against me. But it's not going to work. I'm fucking Solid Snake. I'm the main character. I'm just going to fucking destroy you all.
That's always like my core tactic a lot of times in Sniper Elite is a lot of times if I find a good tower, I'll climb up those stairs and I'll place, bombs on like the stair levels, and then I'll be like, okay, here's my good sniping point, and I'll sit there and I'll just start blasting guys, and then, once in a while if somebody gets past me, that's okay. By all means, come on upstairs. See what I got to offer you.
Yeah, come see what this Tommy gun does.
Yeah, well, most time it's just you'll just hear the bombs go off and the traps and landmines I've set.
Yeah,
and then after a while,
but they have a fighting chance, right?
They do have
Kind
a
of.
fighting chance, kind of. I don't know about those landmines. They get those guys all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's hard for me to go like full stealth unless it's like I guess those are actual stealth games. They have very predominant stealth elements, but I don't know. I get bored of it.
I always call it like you can go. Stealth is the main core part of what you should be doing, but you can if you don't feel like going stealth. That's okay too. You can blast your way through. It's just going to be probably more challenging that way.
Right.
Yeah. Unlike like a Sam Fisher game or something like that, especially the early ones where they have that kind of stealth thing that like, oh, you got caught. Well, guess what? You're restarting the level.
Game over, bitch.
Yeah. Hope you don't do that again. One of those kind of things. Which
Right.
I've never really been the biggest fan of that type of stealth, where it's just like one dude sees you, level's over, and you're like. Especially when you're like, it's not like he sounded the alarm or anything like that. It's like, dude, I could have got the guy. Or I always say, it's just like, just give me the fighting chance. I don't make 100 guys run out. Like, you know what I mean? Something that I probably can't win, but at least give me just that little bit of a chance that, maybe I will be able to make it.
Maybe I can pull this off.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's weird. I guess it's also like the feel of the game. And, maybe it's like the little bit of Musashi that's in me where I'm just like, I just want to grab that wooden stick and I just want to run through the woods and just beat the fuck. Like, all right, may the best man win.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go to town,
Like, that's like why I love the Call of Duty campaigns, or like one game that I think, I feel like the campaign didn't get enough love, but Medal of Honor Warfighter.
Oh, yeah.
That campaign was so fun. Yeah, dude. Like, that was a fun campaign. Levels were dope.
Mhm.
and like it was like a head-on fight. It was like a car crash in that game.
Yeah, no, that was a cool one. I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, PS3 and everything like that. You know,
Yeah, there's some about, especially with the limited time I have. I'm like, okay, I can like spend my you know 2 hours of free time that I got to play this video game, and really take my time and be like deliberate with my stealth action. Hopefully, this has like a really great story that's going to keep me invested into it. Or I could just go 2 hours of balls out, like, may the best man win, fucking just watch the gore and mayhem take place.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes, well, that's why I always think that, like, I like that shorter time frame where it's like, well, then I can play more games too. You know what I mean? I don't want to play like one game for an entire month. I like the idea of being able to play like 10 or 15 games. You know what I mean? And if one game's sucking up too much time, you know.
Right,
So,
right. It gives you a better appreciation for like Force Unleashed too.
yeah, because that's one of those games where it's like 2.5 hours. So I feel bad for anybody who paid $60 for it when it came out, or $50, whatever the heck it.
I was one of those people.
But like, because I bought that game used, and I probably paid like $15 for it, and I played through it, and I'm like, man, this game is amazing. But I was like, boy,
Yeah.
I wonder what somebody who paid the full price, because for 2.5 hours, that game is pure gold, super fun, like everything you do.
Nonstop action.
Yeah, everything you'd want in a Star Wars game, but then it's just over so fast. But it's actually, I almost kind of like, in hindsight, I think it's actually kind of better for long-term gameplay, because you could come back to that game way more often than any of the other ones,
Right. I have beaten that game a lot.
Yeah, so it's like in the long run, you've gotten your money's worth out of it in a sense because of that.
Not when I originally bought it. I beat it one time, and then I think I gave it to somebody, and I was like, I don't ever want to see this game again.
Yeah, you have brought me great shame.
Yeah, I was very upset. I remember sitting down because I was like in the military still, and I go on my back porch, I smoke a cigarette, and then I sit down. I'm like, all right, we're gonna play. I got like 5 hours to invest in this. I have nothing going on. I didn't make it 5 hours. I didn't make it very far at all.
Probably didn't make it 3 hours.
I think I started at maybe like 4 p.m. and I looked outside and the sun was still up, and I was like, I already beat this bitch. What the fuck?
It's so weird, but like at the same time, it's like it's so good for those, like, that for that short run, it's great, and you can make all kinds.
Oh yeah,
play so good,
it's so fun.
styles, yeah, but yeah.
Well, and like you said, like replaying it again, and you get like better, because it was on PlayStation Plus for like, I think like streaming, you could play it, and I think I beat it like 3 times in a month.
Yeah.
And it was like, because I beat it the first time and it was like a little bit clunky, like I was doing it. It's not like it's a hard game. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I could probably like beat it faster and be like more dominant and just fucking even more like mayhem and chaos. And then each time I beat it after that, it was just like, sharpening that sword. I was like Musashi up there, making my two-hand sword technique, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking destroy you, Vader. I'm gonna destroy your army.
The cool thing about that game is you could have all the cool techniques, I think, because you could have the double lightsabers, you could have the Darth Maul style. Of course, you could just have single, that kind of katana style and whatnot. And of course, you could customize it from like the colors. There was just a lot of neat stuff like that I don't think I ever saw in a Star Wars game previously, where you could do all that kind of customization.
Right. No, it was fun. That was a fun one.
Yeah, no,
that's also why Star Wars games are so fucking cool. Minus like the new ones, I think they're fucking stupid. Personally, like the one where you're a Padawan who survived. The hell is that one?
The one where you're Padawan, you survive. Oh, the ones that are in the Dark Souls style.
Yeah. One, it's in that style. I don't like that.
Yeah, I played through that first one, but I've come to the conclusion I just really don't like that Dark Souls gameplay style. It's weird because it's like borderline. Like, I love Ninja Gaiden. I love a lot of games that you would say are close, but it's just that I don't know what it is. It's like that.
There's no way Ninja Gaiden's close to Dark Souls style. Ninja Gaiden has flair and technique and precision and timing.
And loads properly in the right way.
And,
I think it's like
and good gameplay.
yeah, I think it's that thing. It's like whenever I see in the Dark Souls one, and you get to a point where it's like I see there's some fireplace, and then it does the thing where it's like, well, if you save right here, it's going to restart the enemies. I'm like, that tells me I don't need to go any farther in this game. Like, it's just dumb because it's supposed to be like, oh, it makes it more challenging. Like, no, it doesn't. It just makes me have to sit here and like level grind for a while and then kind of go through it. It's just, I don't know. I don't like that part. It's not really necessarily the combat I don't like. I just don't like the core style of gameplay. It's just not my favorite. Like, you know,
I don't like the combat. I think it's clunky.
I tried to give that the Stellar Blade one that came out recently, and then I was like, oh, it's just a Korean version of Dark Souls. Never mind.
Yeah. Like I'm not a fan of like the super punishing style gameplay, and like I've seen people play it, and like when I watch it, it's not okay. It's impressive because they memorize the movements and like they have their timing down perfect for that style of game. But it's not like if you watch somebody just like shred on Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I go over to your house and like I felt like I was pretty good at Ninja Gaiden, and you'd be like, yeah, Spence, fucking fire up Ninja Gaiden X like 2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or Sigma X, whatever the fucking naming conventions are.
Yeah, they
and I'd like watch you go after you'd been like, you know, polishing your fucking katana for like a week straight. Because those are hard games, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to get like the best clear rate.
Yeah, no, those games are definitely tough, and even just kind of going back into them and so on like that, they still kind of get you. And yeah, right. it's like how I feel about it too. It's like, yeah, I don't need a game to be overly like this is the way I kind of describe it. I don't mind a challenge in a game, but I want the punishment or like the difficulty to be, I call it forgiving. And what I call forgiving difficulty is like, okay, this like boss battle that might be coming up, like it's going to be really tough. And it might take you a lot of tries, but the upside is we've saved the game for you right before like you go in there. So it's not like that kind where it's like, oh, guess what? You lost to the boss. Well, go do the entire level over again, because that's the part where it's like,
right.
I already beat the level. I don't need to keep doing that over and over. Yeah.
Well, there's flair to them too, though. Like it's like I'd watch you play, and it'd be like there's flair to the technique and the moves you use and the different combinations. You know.
Well, yeah, you got like, so many different ways to go about it too.
Yeah, it's just more appealing in every way to me.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Devil May Cry. That's another game to where like somebody's own specific flair, the way they play, and like conquer a level. You know, it's enjoyable. Like that's like a game you could actually watch. I can't understand people who want to watch a Dark Souls streamer. They're just like, wow, this is like super compelling. It's like, yeah, they're just rolling.
Yeah,
and then they hit once, and then they roll, and then they drink a potion, and then they're rolling.
They got stamina bars and yeah. Well, it's like the weird thing too is because like that once again, going back to that Stellar Blade is because I thought when I first saw that come out, I'm like, oh, cool! Finally, people are actually making Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, Shinobi, that style of game again. Even God of War, the old ones, because that kind of genre really disappeared. The hack and slash one, like I don't know why.
Right.
Like Devil May Cry 5 is like the only thing that really kind of carried it on as far as a big game.
The Warriors games are about the only ones that survive now.
That's true because those are kind of they're pretty similar too in a sense. They just got more of the battlefield like whole thing going on.
Yeah.
And I thought that Stellar Blade, it looked like that in the videos and so on. And then I tried it out and it was like, you're saving at a stupid campfire. The enemies are restarting. It's not that. And I was just like, it's just a Korean knockoff. That's all it is. Like, okay, see ya. Yeah.
I guess you're right. The hack and slash is kind of like the last Dead or Alive game, or Dead or Alive, the last Devil May Cry.
Yeah, because Devil May Cry 5 is kind of the last big one of that series. And even on Xbox like One and PS4, it was pretty mute on that system too. There wasn't really a whole lot there. Like literally the last time there kind of was stuff was 360 and PS3, because you had Devil May Cry 4 and DMC, you had God of War 3, you still had I guess you had Ninja Gaiden 3 was on that one, and Ninja Gaiden 2 was also there.
You have the newer God of War.
Yeah, but that's more like they turned that more into like an action adventure game in a sense.
Right.
So it's like
because it isn't a hack and slasher really.
Yeah, it's not like in a sense in that old kind of like almost like you'd almost say partially arcadey style of how those other ones kind of are, But that's what I mean.
That's why it took me forever to beat it. I
Yeah.
started it and I was like, this isn't that cool. I'll beat it one day.
Yeah, one of these days I put it on the shelf with the other things, but yeah, I miss that kind of style, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, here it is, and it's just a fun. It's gonna be challenging, but like it's still kind of like balanced in a sense, you know?
No new IPs in like hack and slash either. Like Bayonetta was kind of like a newer one.
That actually might be one of the last ones too, because there was a Bayonetta 3 on Switch, so that's one of the few that fits in there.
Right.
But,
Lollipop Chainsaw or Cheerleader Chainsaw or whatever the fuck it was called.
Because Suda51 made it, but those are all Xbox 360 era still. So you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right.
yeah. So like, because he had a lot of those.
Damn, that's crazy.
Because Killer is Dead, like all his games for a while were those hack and slash style games. And then yeah, once again, it's like that genre kind of petered out. There was even a Legend of Korra one that was actually kind of fun for what it was.
Right.
You know, but yeah,
Damn, that's sad.
Yeah, if you think about it, like, you know, that genre kind of disappeared. As I said, there's a couple of them, but not much.
You need to like write a letter to like EA and be like, yo, Miyamoto Musashi game with microtransactions for different, you know, no pants, loincloth only, microtransactions for these. Come on. You make some money.
I was actually kind of curious if there was a Miyamoto Musashi game at all. You know, just out of all the time periods. Actually, we should look that up real quick. Miyamoto Musashi. Because I was thinking about that the whole time. I'm like, I wonder if there ever was.
As close as you'd ever get to like a real samurai game would be that Way of the Samurai.
Dude, the very first, you want to believe what the very first one it came up was?
Was it Brave Fencer Musashi?
Yes, I kid you not. It's a very loose anime style interpretation. You play as a kid named Musashi, summoned to save a kingdom.
Very loose is not good enough.
Yeah,
language to use there.
Oh, and there's actually a sequel to Brave Fencer Musashi. So there's a Musashi one called Musashi Samurai Legend, hack and slash of RPG elements. The things here, it says, again, very stylized, not historically accurate, but inspired by Musashi's dual blade legend.
All right.
And then the other ones they say is Samurai Warriors. Of course, you know, one of those ones, Musashi appears as a playable character in some of them.
Does he?
Apparently. Then there's that Neo game. I kind of forgot about that, but that was like that other Team Ninja one that came out. There was Neo 1 and 2. I think I have them actually sitting here, but I've never really tried them. But I want to say, but I remember like I was kind of, I kind of looked at it and was like, oh, well, it looks like Ninja Gaiden, but they use some Dark Souls elements. And I think that kind of was like a, I don't know, fellas, kind of thing. I can't say, I haven't really given it the full college try, so I'm not too sure, but...
That's kind of sad if Team Ninja made that and they made a Dark Souls style game.
Well, that's the thing is there's so much, because here's the thing is like, even though me and you and there's a lot of other people that don't like it, but like if 50% of people don't like it, there's a 50% of people that will just buy it instantly because it says Souls in the title or in the description.
Right.
Because most of that's the thing is if I remember flipping through like the digital store of Xbox or PlayStation, and if someone says it has a Souls-like, I'm like, yep, back out of that thing. I guess I'm not looking any further at your game.
No thanks.
Yep. So, yeah.
Dude,
so
Team Ninja must be like dead by now. What the fuck have they made?
they have a new Ninja Gaiden coming out, but I think it's a platform.
A Soul style game? No.
No, I think it's like old school Ninja Gaiden actually. So it's going to be like I don't know if it's 2D, it might be 2.5D, but side scrolling. There's also a Shinobi one coming out too by Sega, like literally in the next handful of months.
That's cool.
So they both look pretty sweet. I'm actually kind of excited about that.
What is that going to be on?
I think everything. I think you'll be able to get it on any system. So
the old school side scroller, I might want that on like Switch.
Yeah, well, the only
thing perfect for that.
As long as it's not 2.5D, because sometimes those games have a harder time loading on Switch, I notice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I kind of got to the point where some of those ones where it's just like, maybe I should get this on Xbox or PlayStation because I just know it's gonna load just a little bit faster and look a little bit crisper. If they're, I'll buy them if they're kind of like really retro, if they kind of look like they're Super Nintendo games or something like that. Then I like to get them on the Switch because I feel like it feels natural. But if they kind of have like a modern like 2D aesthetic, I kind of feel like, this might run a little bit better. But I mean, now if the Switch 2 coming out, that might, obviously you could. Because I think all that stuff's supposed to transfer over.
That would be cool.
Well, so far, I just gotta say this on this list I pulled up. Most games just kind of have like there's like an element of him in there, but there's no full game where you just play literally the Musashi lifestyle all the way through.
I would say, yeah, because it's not Musashi, but that Way of the Samurai one. Because you would challenge people at dojos. You'd have battles to the death at dojos and like out on the streets.
Yeah, I think that one definitely keeps a lot of that. Ask what Way of the Samurai is real quick, and then just see. Oh, it's from the same.
That would be.
That's weird. That's the same. That's the same company that made Tenchu and Octopath Traveler. It's a really weird like lineup.
Yeah. Tenchu's a weird game. Also, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, those are kind of cool.
That's a tough one. That's a tough fucking game.
Yeah, because that's kind of in like the Metal Gear style, like in a sense, but ninja. Well, yeah, no
Tenchu and like Konichi or something like that.
Yeah, I do kind of remember that too. But yeah, strangely enough, it's weird that there's no for as famous as this dude is. But then again, is there even a Wong Fei Hung gang for the fact that that dude has like 100+ movies made about him?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if once again, if you look hard enough, you might be able to find like some.
It won't come to America now. It'll be tariff too heavy.
Yeah, what would Wong Fei Hung have to say about that?
Probably nothing.
No, he's like, I'm a doctor. I'm just trying to get these dirty British people out of here and teach them the right ways,
This is our opium.
But boy, I'm looking forward to watching through the rest of these Samurai Trilogy, the Musashi story. I think from this point on, it's like, don't get me wrong, the first one I think is really good, and it's a great like intro and origin story and so on. But I can just picture that 2 and 3 is where it's really going to pick up at.
Right, 2 is my favorite by far.
Yeah, I just feel
that's like where like it really picks up big time.
I feel just the essence of everything's just going to appear here. The action's going to, start to, he finally he put down the wooden sword now. Now he's pulling out a real saber.
He pulled up his real pants. He grabbed a real sword.
He's got his man pants on now, So yeah,
he read a bunch of books.
He read a lot of books. He had 3 years to kill.
He's fully up on his Nintendo Power literature library.
Yeah, this monk that just has a lot of reading material that he's collected over the years for this, just storing them in the attic.
Takezo, you've changed. I know all about the Mario now.
So I'm getting excited for that. So we'll talk way more of good old Samurai Trilogy and whatnot on the next episode. But that's probably a good place to kind of go. As I said, I'm pumped. I'm ready. I think the Book of the Five Rings is going to make even more sense the farther we get into these movies too.
Oh yeah.
All that cool philosophy and so on like that. But beyond all that good stuff, you can go check out more of the podcast stuff on YouTube and Spotify. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we'll see you some other time.